So you had lunch, you had some time to digest the information that you received this morning. Any comments, questions, concerns?
I think you're awesome.
Well, thank you. Oh, yes, now I don't have to sleep anymore. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I have a very profound question. Where did you get your wand?
That is probably the best question you could have asked. I think it's actually on your handout and resources, but I will tell you because this is like the coolest thing ever. So great at asking that question. Would you mind putting this on the board?
Sure.
It's elves@treeblocks.com, and that's the website. And they have all different shapes. They have like, thumbs up and a cat, and they have everything. But I love this thing. It's so cool. And an attention signal. It doesn't have to be this, but any kind of attention signal to get the attention of your students is very helpful to teach. Okay, any other comments, questions? I used to be able to give these as surprises, but they've been way behind in producing them because I have given away hundreds and schools have bought them for their whole staff. Wish I had stock in the company, but I don't. Okay, then we will resume. And you never know when you get a surprise, so if nobody falls asleep, you never know. When we started developing the program, we said you meet with the child, and so I had many children that I was the coach for, and I met with them, and I said, I have this really fun red and green card game I'd like to play with you. Would you like to play? And they always said yes. And so here I'm with the second grader, and he was a handful, and I did my little spiel. I'm sitting next to him one-on-one. Would you like to play this really fun? I talked to your mom and your dad and your teacher, and I have this really fun game. Would you like to play? He says, no. And I'm like, oh, now what do I do? and I said, on these little cards, it has goals, and the goals are follow directions, work quietly, get along with others. So I said to him, and he said, no. I said, so you mean you can go to the classroom and follow directions, work quietly, and get along with others? He says, yep. I said, great, then I'll ask for somebody else to volunteer. He left, and we never heard from him again. Wow. He was just perfect. Okay. So then a few months later, I'm with another kid, in between many kids who didn't have a problem. And so I'm with this other kid, and I same old spiel. I have this really fun red and green card game. Would you like to play? And he says, no. And so now I was prepared. And I said, so you can go in the classroom and follow directions, work quietly, and get along with others? And he says, yep. I said, great. Then I'll ask for another volunteer to play the game with me. He goes in the classroom. 5 minutes later, he hit somebody over the head. And I said, no, you are going to come and play the game. But usually, the kids are very willing to, especially since they're little kids. Again, if you do this we don't have this for older children yet, but if you would attempt to do it with older kids, sometimes you may find a little bit more resistance and you have to use different strategy. But anyway, so during the role playing is interesting because, or the meeting with the child is interesting because you have to really make them feel comfortable. This is not like a scary thing, and it's you bring it. If you're the coach, you tell the kid it's a fun thing. It's really cool, and I'll be there to help you play this game, and everybody's going to play with you, and so make it light. We don't want to make it like, oh, I am the coach and you're going to be the kid. And so try to make it really light. So anyway, the idea is that you make the child feel comfortable, and then you ask the child, what would you like to earn for the whole class? And they'll say stuff like, and you're going to do brainstorming. So they'll say stuff like, I want to spend the night at your house. I want to have pizza for the whole class. When you brainstorm, you don't say no. You just write it down. Spend night at teacher's house, pizza for the whole class, and trip to Disneyland, and all this, jump out of an airplane, whatever. And so you don't stop them. When you're brainstorming, you let them talk. And then you say, wow, you really like to earn lots of things. Let's see which one of these we can do with the whole class. And then you kind of help narrow it down to blowing bubbles, putting foam on the desk, playing, picking daisies, whatever. So you make a whole list you come up with a whole list of things that the child likes to do. Sometimes kids don't come up with anything, especially little kids. You say, what would you like to earn? Nothing. They don't, oops. So then you may want to say, so I noticed that in class you really like to play with clay. Would you like to earn to play with clay? Or, so you help. It's very important that whatever they earn is something they want to do. And I'll tell you that many times when the program doesn't work, it's because the kid doesn't care about the reinforcer that they get.
Right.
And I had one child when I was still teaching special ed, and I was also the coach in different schools. And in one school, this kid, guys, I can't remember his name. He's got this red face, and I mean, he was an all-around American boy with freckles and red hair. And I just can't remember his name. But anyway, he was in it was in kindergarten. And he started the program, and he was Eric. His name was Eric. And he was doing a great job. He was on day 17, and then all of a sudden, he stopped getting his points. So his teacher came to me and says, Annemiek, I don't know what's going on. He was doing so well, and all of a sudden, he doesn't care about earning points. So I went to observe him, and of course, maybe it was because I was in the classroom that he did well, but he earned all his points. And it was time for him to get a reward, and the teacher says, yay, let's clap for Eric, he earned all his points. It's time for recess, everybody line up. Eric, you stay here because you get to hand out the cookies. So all the kids go out to recess. They have 30 kids in the classroom. He gets a box with cookies and napkins, and he has to go napkin, cookie, napkin, cookie, napkin, cookie. By the time he was done, recess was over, the kids come in, and he hated it. And that's apparently, the teacher says, well, that's the only thing that I had for him, to earn. Now, first of all, that's probably not true, but let's say that was the only thing. How could she have made this so that it was meaningful to Eric?
For him to give the cookies to each of the kids.
Yeah, thank you.
On the way out to recess.
Yeah, she could have easily, on the way out or on the way back into the classroom, he could have been standing there. Napkin, cookie, thank you, Eric. Napkin, cookie, thank you, Eric. Then he would have had the personal interaction with these kids. He loved recess. He missed out on recess for the last couple of days because he had to hand out frickin' cookies. It's almost always, and this is because the teacher, it was convenient for her. Another kid, he wasn't doing well, and when we checked into it, when he had all his points, his mom told him he could spend time with his grandmother. He hated spending time with his grandmother, so after the second time, it's like, I don't want to earn any more points. So again, don't commit a suicide and assume that you think you know what these kids want. I had another kid who, the only thing, and this is a real long story, I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but the only thing that he wanted to do was help his dad in the garage, working on the car. And when I talk to the parents, the dad says, no, nobody touches my tools. Oh, he wanted to clean the tools that the dad used. And I said, well, could he just earn a few minutes of tool cleaning time? Dad says, no, nobody touches my tools. And finally I said, I know, I'm a mechanic, I know how important tools are. I promise you, if you allow him to earn time to clean your tools, and if he breaks a tool, I'll pay you. And the dad says, okay. Well, the kid totally turned around. It was amazing. And in the beginning, I would give him points, and every 20 points was 1 minute of tool cleaning time. And then after a week, and then on Fridays, he would have all his points added up, and on Saturdays he would clean tools. After the first week, I said, no, you don't need to earn points anymore. You get 20 minutes of tool cleaning time unless you mess up, and then we're going to reduce it. So it was just, if you find the right reinforcer, which sometimes is very different than what you think they like. I had one kid with, are we good?
I think we need the CD.
I can keep talking.
I think we need to use the CD, which...
We use the CD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you have a whole bunch in here now.
Oh, those are, oh, they're there. Okay. So this is, let's see, which one is it? It's your turn? No, it's the coach's one. It's not this one? It's the one that I have. Oh, here. So here, this first meeting with the child. So I have to tell you this story because it's another another example of how incredibly powerful reinforcers are. This has nothing to do with first step, but this was a child who had Prader-Willi syndrome. Are you familiar with that? It's when, you know, they're focused on food and they just kind of totally go into a trance until they get to the food. And this child happened to be extremely non-compliant and didn't want to do anything. So I used to use food as a reinforcer. You know, you never know when you get a surprise and it's like a raisin for you or whatever. And then I also had magic mushrooms on the bulletin board and they did all magic tricks. And so in that year I had a child who had a religious affiliation and I couldn't use my magic mushrooms. And I had Prader-Willi who had this food thing, so I couldn't have food. So I felt that I had all my powerful tools were gone and I felt stripped. So one of the co-teachers says, why don't you get a rat? And I said, are you kidding me? I hate rats. No rat for me. She says, I have this perfect rat, Princess Furball, blind in one eye, would go perfectly in your special ed room because I had all these kids with all kinds of disabilities. And so she puts that rat in my room and every day after school in the aquarium, I would hold Princess Furball and I creeped out. And after about a week, I could actually hold the rat. And so then my child with Prader-Willi had not done a thing the whole week in school, nothing. She would just sit there and stare, you know, nothing. So I called the kids to their desks and I said, may I have your attention, please? Has anyone noticed the special guest we've had in our room for the last week? No, nobody noticed. And I said, well, let me introduce you. So I went to the rat cage, and it was in the back of the room. I get the rat out, and I said, isn't this the most beautiful animal you've ever seen? Oh, yeah. Look at this beautiful tail and the cute little ears. And look at how beautiful she is. Oh, yeah, she's beautiful. And Prader-Willi is like, you know. And I'm doing all this for her. So I said, now, this rat is handicapped. She is blind in one eye. She's visually impaired. And Rachel, one of my children who had Coke glasses, legally blind, said, well, she can wear glasses like mine. And I said, so Princess Furball knows how very smart you guys are and how hard you work, and she would like to watch you. Who would like for Princess Furball to watch you work? And they all raised their hand, including the girl with Prader-Willi. And I said, well, here's the rule. If you're working really hard and follow directions, you never know you get a surprise. And I may invite Princess Furball to come and watch you work. Who would like to earn Princess Furball? Oh, everybody. I said, now here's the deal. When Princess Furball comes to watch you work, you can't stop. I'm going to put her on your desk, and she's going to crawl all around, and she probably will crawl in your desk. She'll crawl all your hair, but you can't stop working. Okay, great. Okay, Princess Furball, I'm going to watch somebody who's really working hard, put the rat away. I give directions. The kid with Prader-Willi is the first one opening her folder, starting to work. The first time ever in school that she did this. So I go over and I said, that is incredible. Would you mind if I asked Princess Furball to come and watch you? And she says, no, and she keeps working, you know. So I get the rat, put the rat here, and I said, now remember, you can't stop working. It's okay, so she's working, and the rat's all over her. She had long black hair, and rats all over her. Working. Pretty soon she raised her hand. I said, can I help you? And she keeps working. Princess Furball peed on my paper. I said, well, let me get a porta potty. So I get a paper towel and I fold it up, and then I said, maybe Princess Furball needs a little rest. And that kid changed, like amazing. It's written up in a book that I wrote about 5 basic principles. But she actually had seizures, and we quit her seizures. They were fake seizures, but she actually, started to do awesome because of the rat's reinforcement. So you never know what it is. Okay, so now we have the meeting with the child.
After your observations and meeting with the teacher, you will know what behaviors to teach and role play with your student to prepare him or her for school success. Ask the teacher to introduce you to the target student and meet in a place where you won't be disturbed. Your goals are to establish a positive rapport with the child, explain the game and use of the card, teach expected classroom behaviors, practice stopping when the card is on red and returning to green behavior, get the child excited to play. After you've explained the green-red card game and got the child excited to play, you need to brainstorm a menu of activities the child wants to earn for the entire class.
Good. That's good. Would you like to play games with your whole class or have some fun activity? It's going to be very fun. And you know what? You're showing me green card behavior right now by being such a good listener. So I know you're going to do really well at this game. You're already a good listener. When we think about doing fun activities with your class, what kinds of activities would you like to do? We can make a list right here.
Outside recess.
Outside
Guess what else I'd
recess.
like?
What?
Okay.
If we
that's
play
good.
this game, you get to earn surprises for the whole class. What do you think you'd like to earn? Let's write it down. Let's think. A surprise for the whole class that would be really fun for you and the whole class. What do you think we could earn?
You know the hunting book with the dog and the tiger?
Yes. You
I'd
would
like
like a
that.
special story?
Yeah.
If you earn enough points on this green card, then you earn a surprise for the whole class. Everybody gets a surprise at the end. Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah?
And you would like to earn maybe that pop-up book?
Uh-huh.
Okay, a pop-up story. Okay, that's not good. How about, do you ever play I Spy?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Would you like to earn that for the class? Okay. Have anything else?
It's kind of hard.
It's hard thinking. Hey, guess what?
What?
Besides earning a special treat for the whole class if you win your points,
Uh-huh.
you're going to take this card home every day. You're going to put it in your backpack, like probably in that front pack. Take it home and show your parents. And if you won the game at school, they're going to spend some time, special time with you at nighttime. Doing something fun at home with you for winning the game.
Cool.
What do you think of that?
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool? Okay.
I'd play Candyland with them.
You'd like to play Candyland with them? I'll write
Yeah.
that down.
Yeah, I got that from Toys. I got that from Toys R Us.
You're sitting there so respectfully. That's green card behavior. Did you know that?
Cool.
Okay, Candyland with your parents. What else do you think you want to do with your parents?
Well, I really like Guess Who a lot.
Guess who?
Yeah.
Is that a game?
Your next task is to role play expected behaviors. These role plays are the teaching component of first step and extremely important. Show the child how to behave by showing examples and non-examples of behaviors. Remember to make it fun and inviting. First, you will ask the child to do tasks and you operate the card. Next, roles are reversed. You pretend to be the child and the child pretends to be the teacher who operates the card. Exaggerate inappropriate behaviors. As soon as the child turns the card to red, stop the behavior and say, "Wow, you're a great teacher. You know I wasn't doing the right thing and you turned the card to red. Let's see if I can do it the right way."
Time?
Yeah.
Follow directions, do your best work, and be nice to your friends. I think you can too. Now, you showed me that you can be a good student. I want you to play teacher and see if you can make sure that I'm on green card behavior, okay? This is to help you understand that you know exactly how the game works, okay? So now you're the teacher and you can give me some directions.
But basically, the way that works is, as I mentioned to you before, the two of you are there, And like in that session where the teacher is sitting with the child gets the card, and then the teacher gets the direction from the child. Draw a house, for example. And the adult says, I don't want to draw a house. I don't know how to draw houses. And the kid turns the card to red, and then immediately the coach says, oh, wow, you're such an awesome teacher. You turned the card to red because I wasn't following directions. I wasn't drawing a house. And then they ask again. So you always, and this is probably important that you write this down. When you do the role play, you always show an example first. You know, you show a positive example. You do the right thing. Then you show some negative examples, the way you don't want the kids to do it. And then you always end with a positive example. So you start with what you want to hear and see, and you end with what you want to hear and see. Then in between you do things that you don't want to hear and see, okay? So that's the rule for role play. Do you have any questions about role play? Role plays are extremely helpful, either one-on-one or doing it with a whole group. You had a question.
First, the child does it, or
First the adult will say to the child, you know, walk to the door. And the child walks to the door, they do a good job. And never let the child do inappropriate things, okay? The child always does appropriate things unless they accidentally do it wrong, and then you turn the card to red. When the child becomes the teacher, and the child asks you to walk to the door, you do it right the first time, the right way. You do it wrong 2 or 3 times, and then you do it right the last time. Okay, so does that make sense? So when you role play, but never let the child do the wrong way. Okay, don't ask the child, I want you to yell and scream when you walk to the door. No, the child always does the right way. Okay, and you as the adult role play the inappropriate way. But what you want to do is you have talked to the teacher, you've observed the child in the classroom, so you know the kinds of behaviors they have. So when you are the child, you try to do exactly what that kid does in the classroom, okay, to make sure that they know that it's not right, okay? Role plays are great. They are a very great way to teach skills. Okay, so are there any questions about this meeting with the child? So basically you come up with a menu of things that they like to do at school with the whole class, things that they like to do with their parents. You role play with them, and that's about, then you say to the kid, when they know how to role play, you say, I'm going to come in your classroom and play this game with you, okay? Are you good? Cool, pretty easy. So then, now the child is prepared, the parents are prepared, everybody's prepared. Now you're ready to go into the classroom as a coach. So you want to explain the game to the whole class, okay? You explain the red and green card game, you ask cooperation, and you provide positive comments after the game and during free time to peers. So basically you say, I have this really fun red and green card game that I would like to play with the class. And somebody is going to earn points on this card, and when we have enough points, we're all going to work together to earn points. And you can earn points by following directions, doing what the teacher wants you to do, and be nice to other kids and do your work. Who can help? And they all raise their hand. Now, I need somebody to be the volunteer to help me earn points on this card. And they all raise their hand. And then they'll say, great, so many of you can, but only one person can do it, so I'm going to pick Johnny. You know, well, but I want to do it, you know. You never know when you get a surprise. If you follow directions, you know, you never know. But so for a while, Johnny's going to earn points, but we're all going to help. How are we going to help? And then they reiterate how they're going to help, okay? So when I'm playing with Johnny, and if I turn the card, are you going to tell me, you need to turn the card to red, you need to turn the card to red? No. I'm also going to have a timer, and it's going to beep or do something. Are you going to worry about that? No. I'm invisible. I'm going to be working with Johnny, and you guys do exactly what you're supposed to do, and when the time is up, I'm going to let you know how he did. Can you do that? Are you going to come up here and see how many points Johnny has? No, because you're going to do your own work. And so you kind of pre-correct him for all this stuff. So then, when we're all done, you guys have to notice, because I'm going to ask you how we earned points on this card and how Johnny earned points on this card, okay? So this is where it comes in, where we elicit positive comments from peers about this kid, where before they were always tattling on him. Oh, Johnny hit me, Johnny bit me. They'll even tattle on him when he's absent, you know, because they're so into that mode. So now they have to say positive things. He earned points because he followed directions. He helped me, he cleaned up, you know. So now this kid is hearing all these positive comments from peers. Very, very important to do that. Okay, so let's see if I can find the little thing here.
Miss Carolyn, and I'm going to be here in the classroom working with you for 5 days on a brand new game. Who wants to earn a new game? All right! Everybody loves to learn new games, okay? This game is called the red card, green card game. Guess why? Because one side's green and one side's red. Isn't that funny? But it's going to be a very fun game. And in order to play this game, I need a special volunteer. And your classmate, Vita Rose, has volunteered to be our volunteer person and help me with the game. Can you come up here, Vita Rose? All right. Let's give Vita Rose a little clap for being the help.
So you can see that that's pretty, you know, non-threatening, that whole, the way you explain it to the class. You know, they're all in it together, so it's really fun. Okay, thank you. So green means, and you've probably heard on the tape, you've heard the teachers and the coach say, oh, that's green card behavior. We really want for the kids to know, this is green card behavior, keep doing what you're doing. And the teacher can use that during the day. Oh, that's green card behavior, cool, you know. And this is red card behavior. So we want to have green card behavior. So when the card gets on green, you can earn points on this. And when you have enough points, you can earn something fun for the whole class. Red means stop and think. And remember, I told you earlier not to write on the red side of the card. Now, I actually have to tell you something funny. Let's see where we're going to go from here. So I was in one of the very first kids that I had was kindergarten. Her name was Angie. The teacher had 24 students in class. And the teacher was also a technology teacher. So she taught kindergarten in the morning, and then in the afternoon she taught technology. And this is a long time ago, you know, like 15 years ago or longer. Computers were just coming in. So here, this teacher was awesome, and we were developing the program. So I'm the coach for Angie. Angie was a little girl who was extremely powerful. She was an only child, and she was always telling her mother how the teacher didn't know what she was doing, and how the teacher should be doing this and this and this, and all this stuff. You know the kind of kid that I'm talking about? Yeah. Very powerful little girl. So I did the role playing with her. She loved it, of course. She loved being in charge. You know, when I did bad things, she turned the card to red. And I told her she was a great teacher. Great power and control for her. So we start. 24 kids. First day, Angie did perfect. She didn't miss a point. She got all her points. She got her reward. Everything was great. Day 2, we're going to the computer lab. And there are 12 computers and 24 children. So 2 kids per computer. And I'm the coach, and the teacher teaches. The coach doesn't teach, right? So the teacher teaches, the coach is just a card turner and a point giver. So here they are, these two sitting. She's working on the computer. Angie's supposed to be watching, waiting her turn. I'm sitting next to her, giving her feedback with the card. Pretty soon, Angie starts to pounce on the computer keyboard of her. So I turn the card to red. She goes like this. Sticks out her tongue. And I'm like, I'm just a card turner and a point giver, so this doesn't bother me one bit. I just keep the card on red, right? She goes under the desk and she starts to pounce really hard, you know, under the desk. So I stick the card under the desk, and she comes out, she goes, and I'm like, this is not working, you know. But we hadn't kind of discovered how to do that. So she's supposed to stop, but she's not stopping. So I said, and now I don't do this anymore, but at that time, we were just discovering how to do this. So I said to her, I said, I don't think you're ready to play today. And I stick the card in my pocket, and I start walking out the door. And I left the teacher with the misery. And now I tell the teacher that, but I knew this teacher could handle it. So I'm walking out the door, and she comes out from under the table, and she says, "I'm ready to play right now." And I just went, I didn't look around. She says, "Come back here, you lady, I'm ready to play." And I'm out the door. And I never looked around and left the teacher with her throwing her temper tantrum. Well, this teacher I knew just told her, "Well, you know, you'll have another chance tomorrow." So so I called her mom. Because, you know, I'm supposed to call the mom. Mom is expecting a feedback card home. I called the mom and I told her what happened, and I said, "Now, when she comes home, she's probably going to want to talk to you about how mean I am and the red and green card. And all I want you to do is tell her that she'll have another chance tomorrow and not discuss it." The mom says, "Well, we can't. We always discuss everything." I said, "No, you can't discuss this. You know, just simply say, you'll have another chance tomorrow and walk away." Mother says, "I can't do that." And I said, "Okay, then you call me. When she starts talking about the card, call me." I gave her all my numbers. And sure enough, it's like, you know, an hour later, and here I hear this screaming kid in the background, "Mother!" And the mom is on the phone, and I said, "Sounds like she wants to talk about what happened today." And the mom says, "Yes." I said, "Okay, look at the ceiling or look at the floor, and I'm going to keep talking. And when you get a chance, you know, you put down the phone and you run for the bathroom and you lock the door." And so here I'm like 911, you know, like the person. I said, "Sounds like she's still," and this kid is yelling, "Mother! Mother!" And I said, "Sounds like she still wants to talk to you. Keep looking at the ceiling or keep looking at the floor." And pretty soon you hear the sound get a little bit less. And I said, "Well, can you put down the phone and go for the bathroom?" She says, "Yes." She does. She goes. So the next day, I come back to Angie. I said, "Hi, are you ready to play the red and green card game?" "I was ready yesterday. You didn't want to play." And I said, "Remember when the cards are green, what you're supposed to do?" She says, "Yeah, keep going." I said, "That's right. When the cards are green, you keep going. And what are you supposed to do when the cards are red?" She says, "Stop." I said, "That's right. You need to stop. Yesterday you didn't stop, but I'm sure today you're going to stop and we're going to play the game. And so what would you like to earn?" No discussion about her sticking out her tongue, doing any of that stuff. From that day on, Angie was perfect. I think that she had never had anybody just walk out of her. She was so powerful and so seductive, you know, that you wanted to engage in a power struggle with her. And so it was just too cool. So anyway, you can stop the game and walk away. But now you tell the teacher, you say, "You know, maybe if it doesn't work, maybe I'll have to stop the game and just walk out and we'll play again tomorrow." That's an option. Yes.
When you're a coach and you're in the classroom the first 5 days, are you supposed to stand next to them? Or?
Yes, you're supposed to be a shadow. So you're right next to the kid. You're following them like a shadow at least the first 3 days.
Okay.
Then, after 3 days, you start to approximate the teacher. So if the teacher's teaching in front of the class, you stand here and you give feedback with the card so that the kid can start looking at the card, because pretty soon the teacher's going to have the card. So you kind of approximate the teacher. That's a good question. But in the beginning, you definitely are close. Okay. So, here's giving points. Now this is an example of a preschool, because I didn't have really a good example of older kids, so you get to see this. And I apologize for the numbers. Didn't know how to get those off of there.
Great job.
This is a good one.
Gosh, I'm looking at my timer. You know what? We have earned 1, 2, 3, and 4 points already. Jojo, check out all those points. You got 4 of them on green cards.
Is this wheel?
Karina is helping Jojo earn points by using the axe safely. I know that we've talked about that.
I called it. And this was in the flyer. And I call this a flower branch. That means it fell
See it as a flower. We just got another point. Oh my gosh, there's Jojo.
So you can see how the coach is wherever the child is, and she just watches her timer and keeps giving feedback. Does that make sense? The whole thing? And she doesn't teach, so if there is a problem, if a kid needs help with something, he's supposed to ask the teacher for help. The teacher teaches and the coach just gives points and feedback. So if there's something that he needs to do, she can say, how do you ask for help? And then, you know, can do that. So this is the daily summary chart, and we already looked at this earlier, but during the coach's phase, the first 5 days, you can see it go from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. The times that they get points increases, the point opportunities decrease, and the number of feedback, changes from the coach giving a lot to the teacher giving more, and they have everyday rewards. We get another example here, so let's see how this works.
For the teacher and class how the intervention is done. Noticing positive behaviors and acknowledging them is key to program success. You and the teacher have a minimum number of praise statements to give. Before you begin each session, remind the teacher how many praise statements he or she is responsible for that day.
Is that why you were wearing the rubber bands on those little things on your arm to remind you?
No. You mean for the praise statements?
Yeah, I mean, like if you were to give that to a teacher, like.
Yes, and you can definitely do that. Wait, hang on. We do have a timer, okay? So the timer actually, you can put it in your pocket, and the card goes with the child. So if you're playing the game in the classroom and now it's time for recess, the card goes to recess, and the recess person can give, and we have all this written down, but usually recess is like 15 minutes. So they can earn a point they could earn 3 points during recess if they had a perfect recess. If they didn't come to the teacher's attention or the supervisor's attention during recess, but they didn't line up and the bell rang, maybe they get 2 points. If they threw rocks, they get no points. So the recess supervisor does have, at their discretion, they can give points. They can rate the behavior of the child. The same with music or PE or any of the auxiliary people that they go to. They would actually, the card goes with the child. But how do you give points? You choose a 20-minute period, and like I said earlier, that time does not have to be the same every day when you're the coach. Set the timer for 30-second intervals. Start the timer. When the timer vibrates and the card is on green, they get a point. So basically, you just use the card. You're doing great, timer vibrates, they get a point, When the timer vibrates and the card is on red, you don't say anything, you simply don't give a point. And the card stays on red until the kid changes their behavior. They may miss 2 or 3 points, And the natural consequence is that they don't get enough points at the end of the game. Now, with the red card, it all depends on your student. But sometimes, like, I don't have a chair here, but there was a kid, he was sitting in circle, or he was sitting and listening, and he was like tipping his chair back, like that. And so I turned the card to red, and he looked at the card. He was definitely being respectful to the teacher. He was engaged in what he was doing, but he kept doing this, And so I said to him, do you know why the card's on red? He says, no. And I said, you need to have the chair on the floor. He says, oh, he wasn't aware. So then, so you want to kind of, sometimes you ask him, do you know why the card's on red? Now, there was one kid, and he was acting out, and I said to him, do you know why the card's on red? He says, I know. Now, we know now that he's not really wanting to the card. And then I said, well, you need to. And immediately always tell the kid what they need to do. Don't say, you know what to do. Don't say that. Just don't say that. Say, you need to sit down and color the bear brown. Or, you need to go to the computer and do whatever. You give them a specific direction. Because if you say to the kid, you need to get busy. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Don't do that because you set them up for failure. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. The minute they start doing that, you go over and you say, you're making an excellent choice. Can I help you? So that the kid knows they're back into your graces again and life can go on. But if you do this stuff on, you know what you're supposed to do. You've been in this class long enough. By now you should know what you're supposed to be doing right now. And it just gets worse and worse. Don't do it. I have videotaped teachers that for 7 minutes they would say to the kid, you know what you're supposed to be doing. And it just gets worse and worse. Don't do that. You know, just tell them what they need to do. Tell them exactly, or give them a direction that they can do, you know, and then you can go on with life. Because a lot of times maybe they don't know what they're supposed to be doing at that moment. You know, and you can't commit to suicide and assume that you know that they know. Yes?
I also noticed that when kids are in a trance state, and they mostly are in a trance state, and if they're staring out or whatever, they're doing something, they may not know what they're
No,
supposed to be
absolutely.
doing. So just assume that they're in a trance state.
Yeah.
You can tell them what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you guys. Half of you are probably now sitting there dreaming about, you know, sailing on the ocean or something. Yes?
What happens like with the regular classroom behavior management thing, the regular day-to-day thing that's not going on at that time? Does that continue?
Yes. Everything stays the same because remember you're only doing it for 20 minutes.
Oh, right.
So when the teacher doesn't have the card,
Oh.
then you want to do the same old thing. And you know, and eventually, hopefully, the teacher and the
Yeah,
and the,
and so what, do they get a consequence if what they did was?
not during this game.
Not during the
No.
game?
During the
Doesn't
game.
matter what they did? They
No,
just
no,
kids,
no,
nothing?
no. The only thing is if they really do something horrible, like hurt another child,
Uh-huh.
you know, there has to be a consequence for that.
Okay.
And it can be that the coach teaches the kid how to go to timeout. Now, if somebody hurts somebody and you say you've lost your privilege to be in the classroom, you need to go to the reflection room,
Can't go.
and and the kid goes, the card's on green because they're following directions. So if they're in timeout and they're doing what they're supposed to do, it could be the card could be on green. You know, but if they start throwing a temper tantrum, then the card goes on red. Or it could be that you say, we're stopping the game, we'll try again tomorrow. And then tomorrow you play the game again.
How about
Yeah.
Roleplay taking away points?
No,
No.
never,
No?
never, never, never take away points. That's one of the you know, there are certain programs where you do have a contingency, you know, cost, whatever you call it. But no, with this program you do not take points away. They simply do not earn them. Okay, so they may not have enough points. That's it.
And what about if other kids start to misbehave? They follow the same classroom?
Yeah, if other kids start to misbehave, you know, then, well, usually it's the classroom management problem. That one of the 5 principles, the expectations aren't clear, or the teacher has fallen in the criticism trap, or one of those, they're not giving enough reinforcement. But yeah, you follow the same procedures as usual. Yes.
Does the coach during the first day of the game, do they kind of try to maybe, I mean, they always should try to encourage, but kind of try for that child to like win the game that day so that they can make contact like with success? Or no? It's just
No, and this is tricky because you really want to be very objective as a coach. Because sometimes, you know, they've been really, really good, especially in the beginning, they're every 30 seconds a card turns, so it's not such a big deal. But after a while, you know, when it's like 5 minutes, you know, when you're into, you know, 5 minutes, the kid's probably good for 4.5 minutes. And then they do something, you know, they kick somebody. And you turn the card to red and the beeper beeps. And you think, oh my gosh, you know, they only needed 1 more point. And no. If you have to stick to that, because the same thing will happen the other way. The card will be on red for 4.5 minutes, and the kid is like major messing up, and then they get it together, you turn the card to green, beep, and they get a point, you know. So it's very important as a coach that you don't judge, that you have to be very objective. If the beeper beeps, card's on green, point, no matter how long it's been on red. If the beeper beep, card's on red, no point, no matter how long it's been on green, okay? Because it'll even out eventually, okay? But that's so tricky because you think, especially if you're on day 5 and it's the last day that you're in the classroom, and then they don't make it. Oh my God, I have to come back for 2 more days. But, yes, thank you for raising your hand.
So I noticed in this program you don't take away points.
No.
Compared to other programs, is that more effective? Is that
Much more.
okay?
Yeah, it's almost the response cost programs are very tricky because what if you take away so many and you have nothing to take away anymore? You know, like if in the first hour, you know, a kid can earn 20 points and you take away 20 points in the first hour, you still have 6 hours to go for the rest of the day. What are you going to do? So it's, you know, it's much more effective to give points and not give points than to give points and to take points away. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah.
As you're fading out the program and then eventually end it, is it likely to see a regression or is there a maintenance component?
There's a maintenance component, and what it is that every 10 minutes the teacher has to pay attention to this kid. But we also have a whole bunch of maintenance strategies in the book where you use this with the whole class. You know, where what I did earlier, you know, like, it's like you're my class, and whoops, the card is here, okay? And I have a whiteboard or I have something, and this is green, and this is red. So, and I'm going to have a beeper that all of you can hear, okay? And so I tell you guys, if the card is on green and the beeper beeps, you get a point on the green side. If somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to turn the card to red. When the card's on red, you check to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Are you going to worry about anybody else? No. You worry about yourself. Make sure that you're following directions and doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. When I see everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing, I'm going to turn the card back to green. But if the card's on red and the beeper beeps, then there's a point on red. When you guys have more points on green than on red, you get to, let's say, let's do the flower, simply because, you know, I have a flower here, okay? And I'll say to you, if you get more points on green than on red, usually I do this after, like say after reading class or after math, I do different sessions during the day, and sometimes I don't do it, depends on where I need it. If you have more points, we get to color in a petal. When all the petals are colored in, and this can take days, you know, then we are going to go outside and pick flowers or whatever. Now, this is really, really cool. This is like after first step, right? This is an excellent data collection for the teacher to monitor your own behavior. The rule is that you always have to have 5 points for every point on this side, okay? So let's say that this is what it looks like, okay? They still win, right? But they had lots of red points because they have 1 more point on green than on red. But they still win. They still get a petal on the flower. This is a huge problem. What's going on here when you see this kind of data? What's going on? The task may go back to your basic principles. Usually your expectations aren't clear. You haven't taught them how to do it. You have fallen in the criticism trap where you're saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, instead of using positive reinforcement for the things you want them to do. So this is a very good self-monitoring system here. This has to be always 5 to 1, okay? So if we have something like this, you're doing well. But if there are too many points on red, you got a problem as a teacher. Yes?
Are you targeting a specific behavior such as quiet time or like all children?
It totally depends what your expectations are during that time. So let's say that we're doing a math test. You know, during the math test, you're supposed to not be talking to your neighbors. Sure. You're not supposed to get out of your seat, blah, blah. So you lay out all those expectations. and then it's according to that.
Okay.
But it's a very, very powerful, powerful little data collection thing. So you can do that anytime after you've done first step to maintain.
So it's like momentary time sampling, doesn't matter what they do throughout, but when the timer goes off, if they're engaging that behavior, they get.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can do it as long as you want, or as short as you want, or with whatever. I use this all the time, and sometimes, yeah, that's enough. But it's very, very effective. It's really good for the teacher. So on day 1, you note to see how many points the child needs to earn on that daily summary chart that you've seen a couple of times. You set the timer to prompt you as needed. When prompted, cards on green, a point's earned. When the cards are on red, no point is given. When the time is up, you check to see if they've earned enough points. And what you do is, you may have played it for 20 minutes, and the game is over, but the teacher is right in the middle of an activity. Let's say that the teacher is just explaining something about science. It would be kind of rude and interruptive if you would say, "Excuse me, the game is over." So you want to kind of wait until there is, you just don't tell the kid the game is over. They don't know. You just keep turning your card, you know, and you
By the board.
where's my card? Board. Oh. So you just keep playing the game, even though it's finished. It's done. But you just keep acting like you're still, like the kid doesn't know. And then when you see an opportune time, when the teacher has finished the activity, then you can say to the teacher, "May I have your attention? We finished the game." And then the teacher will use her magic wand and say, "May I have your attention, please?" And then the kid says, "The game is over. Johnny earned all the points. You guys helped. You were awesome. Let's give him a big hand. Clap, 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 clap." How did Johnny earn these points? And then you elicit positive comments from your peers, okay? And then you say, "Okay, Johnny earned all his points, so now we get to go outside and blow bubbles. Let's go," or whatever. And then you go and do that, and then life goes on, okay? So, what does the coach do on program day 1? Well, the first thing you do is you ask the student what they would like to earn quietly. Check if the reward can happen immediately when the game is over. You check with the teacher. Stay close to the student. Make sure the card is visible. Remind the student to try to keep the card on green. Start the timer. Let it run for 20 minutes. Give continuous feedback with the card. When prompted, give points. Ask teacher to stop class after 20 minutes and make an announcement. So that's sort of those are the steps. What can you do when the card stays on red? Well, I kind of went ahead of myself, but if the card is on red, you can ask the kid, "Do you know why the card's on red?" If the kid says no, then you give him a specific direction. You need to sit at your desk and work on page 50. When the student complies, you turn the card to green, and you simply say, "You made a good choice." Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What about, for example, the Angie girl, that she was under the chair and all that kind of stuff? Let's say that, is there like a contingency plan for, you know, like if 2 minutes go by or if 3 minutes go by and you see that the card's on red and he's like, you know, and they start doing all these things and they get more and more frustrated. Do you intervene so that the frustration doesn't escalate? And
yes. And you really have to know your kid, and this is the tricky part.
Yeah.
So if the kid, like Angie, she was being obnoxious. She was sticking out her tongue at me, you know, and she kept going on. So I decided that I didn't want to deal with her anymore. But it could be that there's another kid who does something similar, and I'm going. Oh, that was this one kid. That was pretty funny. He was day 6. The coach is in the back of the room next to the teacher. Or in the front of the room. The kid's in the back of the room. And coach is standing next to the teacher, and the kid is going like this. And she turns the card to red. And he goes like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea my finger was in my nose." So she turns the card back to green, and he's going. She turns the card to red, and he's like, "Totally! Like she was just flipping that card back and forth, back and forth. And so she calls me and she says, I don't know what to do. You know, it was just very frustrating. And I said, well, you know, it's real obvious that he was playing a game with you. So I asked her what she was going to do. And I said, she says, well, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, the first thing you do tomorrow when you go back to class, you role play with him before you start. Always role play before. And say to the kid, you know, a lot of times you do really great, but yesterday I was flipping the card because you were putting your finger in your mouth, and so we're not going to do that today. You need to keep the card on green. Do you need any help? You know, and so when you're sitting in class, show me what you're going to do. Yeah, are you going to do this? No. Are you going to do it? No. You're going to, you know, because if you don't, I'm going to leave. That shows me you're not ready to play the game. So what would you like to earn? You know, so it depends on what kind of rapport you have with the kid. There are no hard and fast rules, but when a child, you know, when it doesn't look like they're being obnoxious or, you know, on purpose, you know, defying you, you want to ask, do you know why the card's on red? And many times they don't. And then you just tell them what they need to do. The minute they do it, you turn the card back. So, you know, it's kind of, is that okay?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any other concerns, questions? Yes.
One concern that I think would come up when the coach is standing in the front of the classroom near the teacher, or even when the teacher is doing it, for when she turns it to red, the whole class looking at the kid to see what he's doing wrong, because the whole class sees it turn. And wouldn't that also be attention that he's getting?
Yeah, well, again, you look at the data. Remember, you make database decisions. So if he continuously would not make his points, then you might want to look at that and say, oh my gosh, he's getting a lot of attention. But if he makes his points, then it's no big deal. It's always looking at the behavior, always looking at the data, always looking at, you know, what's working for this particular child. Any other issues, questions, concerns? Okay.
When playing with the group, do you do role play?
With the group, you also role play. Yes, absolutely. You can do role play with. In fact, that's what we do with. I think I told you in the beginning, where we give the children a green card and a red card. Everybody gets a green card and a red card. Everybody gets to be the teacher. You know. So yes, you can do this with the whole group. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I would like for you to get up right now, stand up, and find somebody that you haven't talked to, and just kind of talk to them for about 1 minute about how you're doing right now. I noticed that this whole row over here was doing an awesome, awesome job. This is for you. You earned that for the whole row. That was really, really cool. You guys were so... Did you find that? You are being so honest. You know what? You may keep it because you were so honest at giving that to me. This is so good. Okay. Well, I wanted to go here to Mr. Beckrow. Hi. You never know when you get a surprise. You've been sitting way in the back of the room and being so respectful. Okay. So, what do you do when the child does not meet their criteria? You recycle. So if they didn't make their points, you don't make a big deal, and this is really important because you simply say, may I have your attention, please? We played the game. We didn't get enough points. We'll try again tomorrow. Everybody back to work. And then you immediately, I noticed that you went right back to work. Good for you. I saw that you started to work. Excellent. You don't go to these whiners and say, you know, immediately notice the kids that are doing the right thing. That vicarious reinforcement is your best tool as a teacher. Give your attention to the behavior that you want, okay? Not to these whiners. Now, when these whiners start working, I will immediately go to the whiners and say, awesome job getting back to work right away, okay? So, but anyway, we announced that we didn't make the points. We'll try again tomorrow. Now, let's say that it was day 5, that they didn't make it. And today is Friday. and they didn't make day 5. Then on Monday, you go back and do day 4. You always go back to the last day that they were successful, because remember, we're trying to figure out what the attention fixed schedule is. Maybe it's too long to do it every 5 minutes. Maybe they need to have a reinforcer every 4 minutes. So we recycle. We go back to day 4. And then, so on Monday we do day 4. Then on Tuesday we do day 5. On Wednesday we do day 6, and we keep going. But you always go back to the last day that you were successful and keep going. That's called research. So you see this here. Wednesday, let's say that Wednesday's day 2. They were successful. On Thursday, day 3, they were not successful. So then on Friday, you repeat day 2 again. Does that make sense? Always go back to the last day that they were successful. Now, usually it happens once or twice during the 30-day cycle that they don't make it, that you have to recycle. Now, if they don't make the criterion 2 days in a row, now you have a problem, okay? So you have to problem solve, and you always go back to those principles. Are my expectations clear? You know, are the adults reinforcing the expectations? Has the teacher fallen into the criticism trap? Is the student getting a lot of attention for minor inappropriate behaviors? Are the other kids laughing at the kid when they do something wrong? You know, you have to problem solve and figure it out. Are the reinforcers strong enough? You know, like the kid with the cookies, that was his problem. The kid that had to go to the grandma, that was his problem. So you have to figure it out. In some cases, in most cases, this is the problem here, that the reinforcers are not strong enough. And so you may have to go to an individual reinforcer for a kid. You know, they still get the group reinforcer, but they also get a special individual one, okay? Yeah.
What if, I mean, because I noticed that the coach goes in for 20 minutes, but what if it's the teacher that's, like you said, there isn't reinforcing like on time? If they're not doing the reinforcement, because like you leave and they stay, you know, with that, right?
It's a problem.
It is a problem, isn't it?
Hopefully the teacher sees when this child has given the teacher grief, okay?
Right.
And now the coach comes in, and the coach is using a whole different approach, this positive approach. The kid changes. So what the teacher sees is, oh, this kid is capable of following directions, of being nice to others, of finishing their work. Oh, this is a good thing. And usually that's how you convince the teacher that this is really a good thing to do, that it really works. So, but you know, it's
The personality.
well, no, it's like, it's very difficult to change adult behavior. And so the more you can, as a coach, the more you can model, you know, doable things, like what I'm doing with you.
Right.
You know, this here, anybody can have some kind of a bell or a clap or anything and teach the kids, may I have your attention, please. Anybody can do that. It has nothing to do with my accent or my earrings or anything. You know, and also the thing about Robert, you've done an awesome job, you know, listening to the teacher without interrupting. That is a specific reinforcement that anybody can do. You know, just notice people doing the things. You are amazing how you've been sitting in that chair all day long. You know, you don't even have to smile. You know, you can be grumpy. And if I say your name and I give you a positive, it's a good thing. So there are lots of things that we can do to help teachers who, you know, haven't been in that mode. Okay, so the game is over. You guys won the game. And now we get the activity should be done immediately. It should be done quickly, just a few minutes. It should not take a lot of time, a lot of effort. And let's see how it works here.
Oh, thank you for giving me your attention so fast with that magic sound. Well, guess what? The game is over, and do you think Vita Rose won the game?
Yeah!
Let's call her up here and see. Come on, Rose.
When the session is over, do the following. Wait for an opportunity to announce the outcome of the game to the class. Invite the child to come to the front of the class. Announce that the needed number of points has been earned. Have the class applaud. Have the child tell what the activity will be. Elicit comments from the class about the positive behavior they observed during the game. Tell the students how they helped. The class activity should be provided immediately after the session is over so that your student gets the connection that good behavior means good things happen.
So you see that it was a very quick, just a few minutes, duck, duck, goose kind of thing. The activity should be small. The main thing is that the kid feels special. They're the one who earned it. They're the captain of the team and the leader of the pack and so on. And then you can also encourage the other kids to say thank you for having the activity. So all of a sudden, this kid who was not liked before now is being liked by the other kids. Very, very important. So don't forget that when you're not only with First Step, but try to encourage positive comments from peers. So let's take a 15-minute break.